Welcome back to the deep dive. We're always on the lookout for fascinating plants, and today we're going to be diving into one that's absolutely incredible when it comes to dealing with drought.
Oh yeah, this one's special.
It's called Enset,
Enset.
or Ensete ventricosum, if you want to get fancy.
Well, we like to get a little bit fancy here
That's great.
on Deep Dive.
But yeah, you might know it as the Ethiopian banana. And the reason we're talking about it today is that it's a seriously important food source for something like 20 million people, mostly in the south and southwest of Ethiopia.
Yeah, it's absolutely crucial there. They even have a nickname for it, the tree against hunger, which really speaks to how vital it is.
Yeah, that's a powerful image, right? So we're going to do a deep dive into Enset today and really try to understand just how it manages to thrive in these really tough, dry conditions.
Yeah, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of its biology, its adaptations, the things that make it so resilient.
Absolutely, and we're going to explore the traditional farming practices that the people in Ethiopia have developed over generations that really help enhance Enset's ability to withstand these droughts.
Yeah, it's a fascinating combination of natural resilience and human ingenuity.
Right, so to kick things off, let's just get a basic picture of what Enset is.
Okay, so imagine a banana plant,
Right, I think we all can.
but then, like, supersize it.
Okay, so like a giant banana.
Exactly. Some of these things can reach like 40 feet tall. It's a pretty impressive sight.
Wow, that's much bigger than the bananas I'm used to.
Yeah, and here's another twist. The fruit, it's not what you eat. It has these hard seeds, and it's not really palatable.
So it's not like the bananas we're familiar with.
Nope, the good stuff is in the pseudostem, that's the main trunk-like part, and the corm, which is the underground bit. These are packed with starch, and that's where the food comes from.
Interesting. So it's a completely different kind of banana in terms of what you actually eat.
Exactly. And that difference is a big part of why it's so good at surviving drought.
Right, because it's storing all its energy in these I guess you could call them reservoirs.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a built-in pantry. Unlike bananas that fruit once and then often die back, Enset keeps its reserves tucked away, ready for tough times.
Makes sense. So, where does it grow? I mean, we're talking about Ethiopia, but is it everywhere in Ethiopia?
Well, it's mainly cultivated in the highlands of Ethiopia, where those drought conditions are more common. It loves sunny spots with good drainage, and it can actually handle a pretty wide range of altitudes.
Oh, wow. So it's pretty adaptable.
Yeah, it's a tough plant. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that it takes its time to mature. We're talking like 4 to 5 years before you can harvest it.
That's a long time.
It is, but that slow and steady growth is part of what allows it to build up those impressive water reserves.
I see. So it's playing the long game.
Exactly. And another interesting thing is that it's mostly propagated through suckers, those little shoots that pop up around the base.
Yeah.
So it doesn't require as much intensive cultivation as, say, annual crops. Less tilling, fewer external inputs.
That sounds like a real advantage for farmers, especially in areas where resources might be limited.
Absolutely. It's a low-maintenance, high-yield kind of crop.
And it's not just about food either, right? I mean, there are all sorts of other uses for Enset.
Oh, absolutely. It's like this multi-purpose wonder plant. You've got the staple foods, of course, things like gocho, bula, amicho.
Those are the traditional Ethiopian foods.
Yeah, and they're incredibly important in the local diet. But then you've also got animal fodder, especially crucial during dry seasons when other forage is scarce. And the leaves can be used for fiber, making ropes, mats, even packaging materials.
Wow, it's like the Swiss Army knife of plants.
It really is. And it doesn't stop there. There are medicinal uses. It can be used for shade, for coffee plants, for example, and it even helps control soil erosion. It's truly remarkable.
So we've got this plant that's incredibly versatile, a staple food source, and can withstand drought. But how does it actually do that? How does it cope with these dry conditions? What are the secrets to its success?
Well, in a way, it's like Enset has its own internal water storage system.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. That huge pseudostome we talked about and the corm, they can hold a remarkable amount of water. The corm in particular, it can be up to 90% water.
90%? Wow, that's like a giant water balloon underground.
Pretty much. And there are even anecdotal reports of Enset plants surviving for years without any rainfall, just relying on these internal reserves.
That's incredible. It's like it's prepared for the worst case scenario.
Exactly. And even the leaf stems, they contain a good amount of water and can be used as fodder for livestock when other sources are dry. So it's really providing for both people and animals.
So it's a real lifeline during those dry spells.
Absolutely. And it's not just about sheer storage capacity. The root system also plays a crucial role.
Oh, how so?
Well, Enset's roots are kind of mop-like. They're thick, fleshy, and very efficient at absorbing water from the surrounding soil.
So they're really good at soaking up whatever moisture is available.
Exactly. And while the root system doesn't spread out very far, it's incredibly effective at utilizing what's available in its immediate vicinity. Another bonus is that those dense roots help hold the soil together, which is especially important on hillsides, preventing erosion.
Right, because erosion is a huge problem in drought-prone areas. It just washes away the topsoil, making it even harder to grow anything.
Exactly. So Enset is not only surviving drought, but also helping to protect the land
It's
itself.
like a double win.
Yeah, it really is. Now, on top of all that, when drought does hit, Enset has some really clever internal mechanisms to help it cope.
Oh, like what?
Well, one thing it does is increases soluble sugar content. Basically, it concentrates the sugars inside its cells. This helps to maintain water balance by kind of pulling water into the cells and preventing it from being lost.
It's like it's making itself more, I don't know, salty on the inside so that the water wants to stay there.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. And at the same time, it reduces its starch levels, probably converting that starch into those soluble sugars for energy.
So it's shifting its resources to focus on survival.
Exactly. And there are other changes too. The mineral content of the plant shifts a bit, and remarkably, even when it closes its pores to conserve water, the leaves manage to stay relatively hydrated.
So it's like it's got all these different tricks up its sleeve to deal with drought.
Yeah, it's a master of adaptation.
Yeah.
And it seems to prioritize building up that underground corm. That's its main storage organ. So even under stress, it's still trying to ensure its long-term survival.
That's amazing. But it's not just about the plant itself, right? We were talking earlier about the traditional farming practices that have evolved around Enset.
Oh, absolutely. These
Right.
practices play a huge role in Enset's resilience. They're a testament to the incredible knowledge and ingenuity of the people who have been cultivating this plant for centuries.
So what are some of these practices?
Well, one common one is mixed cropping. Instead of just planting Enset on its own, farmers often intercrop it with other plants, things like grains, coffee, and legumes.
So it's like a little ecosystem.
Exactly. And each of these companion plants contributes something. For example, coffee provides shade, which helps keep the soil moist and reduces water loss.
Makes sense. Shade is always good in hot, dry climates.
Right. And then legumes, they fix nitrogen from the air, enriching the soil and benefiting all the plants in the system.
So it's a really sustainable approach. You're not relying on external inputs like fertilizers.
Exactly. It's all about working with nature. And then there's the way they manage the soil itself.
So what do they do?
Well, mulching is a big one. They use Enset leaves as mulch, which helps to suppress weeds, retain moisture, and prevent erosion.
It's like a protective blanket for the soil.
Yeah, exactly. And they have other clever techniques too. They might bend the leaves to catch rainwater or cover exposed roots to reduce water loss.
It's all about making the most of every drop.
Absolutely. These traditional practices show a deep understanding of water conservation and are a big part of why Enset has been so successful in these challenging environments.
It's really impressive. And then there's the whole aspect of planting and variety selection, right?
Right. So staggered planting is another key practice. Instead of planting all the Enset at once, farmers will plant it at different times throughout the year.
So you've always got plants at different stages of growth?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That way, if there's a drought, you're not risking your entire crop. Some plants will be more mature and able to withstand the stress, while others will still be young and have a better chance of surviving until conditions improve.
It's like spreading the risk.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then there's the diversity of Enset varieties themselves. There are actually hundreds of different landraces, each with its own unique characteristics.
Oh, wow. I had no idea there was so much variety.
Yeah, it's incredible. And farmers have traditionally cultivated a mix of these varieties, knowing that some might be better suited to certain conditions or have different levels of drought tolerance.
So it's like having a diversified portfolio.
Exactly. It's all about maximizing your chances of success in the face of uncertainty.
And we can't forget about the role of livestock in all of this.
Oh, right. Livestock are an integral part of the Enset farming system. They provide manure, which is a valuable fertilizer, improving soil health and its ability to hold water. And in return, Enset provides fodder for the animals, especially during those critical dry periods.
So it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah, it's a beautiful example of how different elements of a farming system can work together in harmony.
And now science is starting to delve deeper into the secrets of Enset's drought resilience.
Yes. Researchers are really starting to unlock the genetic and physiological mechanisms behind its remarkable abilities. And this is really exciting because it could lead to new ways to enhance those traits and potentially even develop new, even more drought-resistant varieties.
So what are some of the things they're finding?
Well, for example, studies have shown that different Enset varieties respond differently to drought stress.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like there's this one variety called a variety, which seems to be particularly good at maintaining its overall biomass production, even under drought conditions.
Wow, so it's like a super unset.
Kind of.
Huh.
And generally what they're finding is that while drought does tend to reduce growth parameters and photosynthesis, Enset is really good at keeping its leaves hydrated and prioritizing the development of its corm.
So it's like it's shifting its resources to focus on survival and long-term storage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the genetic diversity within Enset is just phenomenal. There's a huge pool of genetic variation out there, which is a real asset in terms of adaptability and resilience.
And that's where the traditional knowledge of farmers comes in, right? They've been selecting and cultivating these different varieties for generations.
Absolutely. And now, researchers are trying to pinpoint the specific genes responsible for drought tolerance, which could open up all sorts of possibilities for breeding new, even more resilient varieties.
That's amazing. So taking a step back, I mean, it's clear that Enset plays a massive role in food security in Ethiopia.
Oh, absolutely. It's a cornerstone of food security for millions of people, especially in those drought-prone regions. It's a highly productive crop. Even a small plot of land can provide enough food to sustain a family for a year.
That's incredible. And the fact that it's so drought tolerant makes it even more valuable.
Right. It's more reliable than cereals in dry areas. It's like a field bank of food that people can draw on when other sources are scarce. It's truly a lifesaver.
And we talked about how the processed cocoa can be stored for a long time.
Yeah. It can be stored underground for 6 months or even longer without spoiling. That's a huge advantage in areas where food storage can be a challenge.
So it's not just about producing food, it's about ensuring that food is available when it's needed most.
Exactly. Enset provides a level of food security that's hard to match with other crops in these environments.
But of course, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, which is climate change.
Right. Climate change poses new challenges for Enset and for agriculture in general.
Yeah, things are getting hotter, drier, and more unpredictable.
Exactly. And that can impact Enset in a number of ways. For example, changes in temperature and rainfall patterns can affect the post-harvest handling of the crop.
Oh, right, because if the conditions aren't right, the cocoa might not ferment properly.
Exactly. And extreme weather events, things like intense droughts, floods, or hailstorms, those can damage the plants themselves.
And in the long run, those shifts in climate could affect where and how well Enset can grow.
Exactly. So climate change is definitely a threat to Enset and the communities that depend on it.
But the good news is that Enset is adaptable, and so are the people who grow it.
That's right. Farmers are already adapting to changing conditions. For example, during droughts, they often increase their Enset production.
Because they know it's a reliable source of food.
Exactly. And home gardens with Enset can play a really important role in boosting resilience at the household level.
It's like having a little backup plan right in your backyard.
Yeah, exactly. And maintaining genetic diversity, continuing to cultivate those different land races, that's crucial for ensuring adaptability in the face of change.
So it's about preserving those traditional practices while also embracing new knowledge and technologies.
Exactly. And researchers are playing a vital role in that. They're working to identify drought-tolerant genes, develop new varieties, and optimize cultivation techniques.
So it's a collaborative effort, combining traditional knowledge with modern science.
Yeah, and it's an effort that's absolutely essential for ensuring Enset's continued role in food security in a changing world.
So we've talked a lot about how Enset compares to other crops in terms of drought tolerance.
Right. It's really in a league of its own in that regard.
Yeah, so how about we compare it to some other common crops just to give people a clearer picture of what makes it so special?
Sure, let's start with bananas, since they're, the closest relatives.
Right.
So regular bananas, they're generally much less drought tolerant than Enset. Yeah. They do mature faster, which is an advantage in some cases, but they're also more vulnerable to prolonged drought. Their shallow root systems, and then the fact that they put so much energy into fruiting, make them less resilient in those tough conditions.
So Enset is kind of like the marathon runner of the banana world.
Yeah, exactly. It's built for endurance. And then if we compare it to cereals, things like maize, which are staple crops in many parts of the world.
Yeah, maize is huge globally.
It is. But maize is very susceptible to drought. It requires more water, more inputs, and it's just not as resilient as Enset.
So Enset is giving you more food per unit of water.
Exactly. And it's providing that food security with fewer inputs, which is a huge advantage for farmers in these regions.
And there's a great example of this with the Sidama people in Ethiopia.
Oh, right. During dry periods, they actually prefer to rely on Enset over their maize crops.
Because they know it's going to be more reliable.
Exactly. It's a testament to Enset's reputation as a true tree against hunger.
So to wrap things up, I think it's clear that Enset's ability to survive drought is a result of a whole bunch of factors working together.
Yeah, it's this amazing combination of its unique biology, those incredible traditional farming practices, and its inherent genetic diversity.
And it's really a vital food security crop in a part of the world that's facing some serious environmental challenges.
Absolutely. It's a beacon of hope and resilience.
And it makes you wonder, as we face a future of increasing water scarcity around the world, what other lessons can we learn from plants like Enset?
That's a great question. I think there's a lot we could learn from nature, observing how plants have adapted to these challenging environments.
Yeah, and perhaps we can apply that knowledge to develop more sustainable and resilient agricultural systems for the future.
I think that's a really important point, and it's something for all of us to think about.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up our deep dive into Enset.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of plants.
Until then.
Bye.